Hey guys, welcome to the YouTube channel of Tribal Geek. My name is Manoj, and today I'm starting something new in my channel that I'll be interviewing the PhD students, and I'll be asking their experiences and how did they apply for PhD and what are they doing in their PhD and what was the main procedures and the hurdles what they faced during applying for this PhD and everything. I hope this will be very useful when you are applying for PhD. And today, with me for this first video, I have Anushri. She's one of my good friend from India, and we work together in IAC as research interns, and then now she's doing PhD at University of Belfast in UK. Welcome to the channel, Anushri.
Thanks so much, Manoj. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So, Anushri, could you just tell about yourself and how did you apply for this PhD and your experience so far? What is your educational background and what topic are you doing PhD in?
Yeah, so I started with my undergraduate degree or bachelor's in engineering and mechanical engineering back in 2013. So I graduated from that in 2017, after which I had 1 year of industrial experience in Bosch, following which I decided to pursue my master's degree at Manipal University.
Yeah.
So I started my master's degree in 2018 and completed that in 2020. And soon after that, in 2020, I started my PhD in Queen's University, Belfast. So I'm currently starting my third year of PhD and hopefully my final year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is a kind of a kind of a loop. What I could say, like usually whenever a person plans for PhD, either he will complete his masters and then he'll have some industrial experience and then start applying for PhD maybe in a later stage. So we have also seen that like a few professors who already will be teaching in some universities and then they do the PhD and things. So when a student, for example, me, I'm doing PhD as soon as I completed my masters. So when a student applies for PhD as soon as they complete masters, and then it's like they're not taking any gap working in some industries or some educational institutes, etc. So do you think it's a kind of an advantageous thing, or is it a disadvantage, or what do you think about this thing?
So it really depends on the student. Sometimes, for example, in my case, I did have an industrial experience, but at that point of time, I really wanted something a little more challenging. So I decided to give research a shot by pursuing my master's degree and coming back to academics. And I realized I really liked research and I wanted to pursue that at the moment rather than go back to the industry. So
Yeah.
sometimes having a stint at the university gives you a better perspective of what you like, whether you like the industry or whether you want to come back into academics. But if your mind is set on research and you want to go for it, then might as well do it at in one go rather than having any
Yeah.
breaks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. That's true. So I remember like we working in ISA and it was a crazy time, you know. I think it was before COVID and you were doing your master's project in ISA
Yeah.
and I was doing as a research intern as soon as I completed my bachelor's. And we have seen the difference in the research environment back in India as well as back in UK. So what do you think? Like, how is the research environment different from India and UK? And do you think that there's a lot of gap there? And how do you think that the main gap between the research in India and in UK?
Uh, well, I think the first and foremost point is doing pursuing a PhD in India takes up many more years. So it's about on an average 5 years time. But doing a PhD abroad, for example, in UK or Europe, is about 3 to 4 years. So it's a lot more time sensitive sort of a degree, which makes it a little more intense. So I think that was the one of the major differences that I noticed with
Yeah.
between India and UK. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So far, how's your research going? So how are you doing your PhD and how's your experiments and all this work going? How's your relation with your supervisor and how's everything?
Yeah, so my PhD is on developing biomaterials for knee cartilage regeneration for arthritis applications, very similar to Manoj's actually.
Yes.
But everything's going fine. Like I said, because the time for doing your PhD here is much shorter, it makes it a lot more intensive. So because I'm in my final year, I really need to get things done now. So
Yeah.
it's quite intense, but I'm really enjoying the process. And if you love research, then PhD is just for you. Yeah.
Yes, yes, true, true. So this is a question which everyone would be expecting, like whenever someone starts applying for PhD. So I got into my PhD just in October, and I know that I was contacting you all the time when I was applying for PhD and for the application procedures. How did you follow it? And we had a lot of conversations, and we were having calls, like you were explaining me about how the procedure works and how to write a letter of statement of purpose, and also how to make your CV presentable, and also finding the different PhD positions and everything. What are the suggestions, or how do you think like one like a PhD enthusiast like has to start his application procedures?
Yeah, so I think the first and foremost thing is you need to start 1 year in advance if you want to do a PhD abroad. So if you want to say start your PhD in say September 2023, you need to sort of start looking in September 2022. So, 1 year ahead of time, you need to start. So, try to keep some things ready. I think the one major difference between PhD applications in India and PhD applications abroad is that in India, there's a lot more focus on your academic profile.
Yeah.
But when you apply abroad, it's your overall profile. So, not just academics, but they really see if you have research experience. So, that could come through internship, like what Manoj had done in ISC, or have you pursued any projects with any lecturers?
Yeah.
So all of that. So you need to have some sort of research experience that can back your interest for research, which is exactly what they are looking for. So try to have your statement of purpose ready, where you explain why you are interested for research, what has been your research experience so far, and why do you want to pursue PhD in that particular field. So try to have that in your statement of purpose, and try to keep all your transcripts ready. If you have to take an English exam, please make sure you do that as well. Because while applying, if there's an applicant who has everything ready along with their English exam, and an applicant who has everything ready without an English exam, although they can submit it later, they can submit their scores later, they will obviously give preference to the applicant who has everything ready. So try to have your research experience, your SOP ready, and I would say start by listing out those universities one by one, and going through every university's website, going through the lecturers who you feel their field of interest aligns with your interests. Sometimes some of the lecturers have their own lab webpage where their vacancies are posted. Some universities have an overall vacancy page in their university where they put out these things, but other ways to look for PhDs is findaphd.com or findapostdoc.com, but they have PhD vacancies there as well. And for UK, there's jobs.ac.uk. Maybe Manoj can list that down in the description. But these are some of the ways. Another way is definitely to email the professors saying you are interested, and send them your statement of purpose, and let them know that you're looking for vacancies. They may or may not reply because they are also very busy in their field. But if you do get a reply, then it's very good, and it's a direct way of getting a reference with a lecturer or a professor. So that's also another way. So just list down the universities, go through every university's website, check for vacancies. If not, then try to email the lecturer who you want to work with. So that's how you go about it.
Yeah. Thank you, thank you. So, now to summarize whatever you said, it's like you first have all your documents sorted. That is the transcripts, the statement of purpose, and your English test, and maybe letter of recommendations from your previous research supervisors or your professors, and all your research experiences. For example, it's like internship or your projects or your papers. So I think the papers are going to be kind of an extra thing, because when you're applying for PhD, they won't be looking much into your papers, as you're still a budding. I mean, like, you'll be getting into a research still now. So it is still good if you have a paper and it's an add-on. And then application procedure is like you'll be finding the PhD positions in the various websites, and I will be listing those websites in the description. And after listing out the universities which has the vacancies, then you will start applying for that. However, if there is like kind of a very narrowed interest, then you can contact the supervisors
Yeah.
or the professors whose research area is aligned with you. Yeah, this is all a very good way. Before and one more thing, what I would like to add is like before contacting the professor, I think it is good that you are well aware about the work what he's
Yeah.
doing, and you're well aware about why you're contacting. It should be on point. It should not be kind of a like, is this like kind of a PhD what I'm applying and I'm interested in so and so and so, like a broad view, and then you just explain like, could you help me out getting with this, that. So this is kind of a waste of time, because I do get a lot of messages from people like they asked me to like how to write a letter of recommendation or statement of purpose. So it's like kind of a thing that which we should not ask someone. We should research ourselves about it. However, once you write it, maybe for to get some
Yeah.
comments, you can ask someone. That is a good way of practice. So yeah, this suggestion I think everyone has to follow when they're applying for PhD. And there's this question every time that when in back in India, when we are applying for PhD, there's like kind of we write the project proposals, or just not in India as well as in Europe. When you're applying for Marie Curie positions,
Mm.
you write a project proposal by yourself if there is no project proposal already available. So, and then you get the fundings from some supervisors or some professors along with them, and then you get into your PhD work. However, in UK, there's a
Yeah.
difference where they have their like already the project will be well defined, the objectives are defined, and then you have to get into the project and work on that. So, what do you think about this? Like, how do I mean, like, what do you think? Like, is this a good practice to get into the one which is already defined, or you have to write your own project proposal, or like, how is it advantageous and disadvantageous for the PhD? I mean, like enthusiasts.
Yeah, so I think if, like you mentioned, sometimes a candidate might have a very specific, narrow interest where they want to do it in that specific field itself. So I guess in those sort of situations, it's better to write a project proposal and approach a lecturer or anyone who you might think can help you with that project, and then acquire proposals. So I think if you have a very narrowed interest, then definitely go for the route, as Manoj mentioned, to write a proposal. But if you do come across, for example, it happened in my case, I came across the project proposal that was published on the website on Queen's University Belfast, and I really like the whole application aspect of it. I really like the project description. That's why I applied for it. So in those cases where you feel, oh, this project is something that I really like and I might enjoy doing it, then go for pre-described projects as well. So either way, if you do have an idea in mind, if, for example, if a lot of students have that sort of very academic sort of mind, and they can define project proposals very easily because they have a lot of ideas. So if you have that, surely go ahead, do some research, do some literature review, write a project proposal, and then sort of approach lecturers saying, I have this project in mind. Would you be able to suggest me anything with regards to that?
Yeah, yeah, true, true. So, going on with the project, I mean, the PhD application procedures, and then there comes the funding.
Yeah.
One of the major aspect of a PhD is funding, because research, wherever you're doing, is it if it's in India or in abroad, funding is the main factor which determine your research. Like, it requires a lot of, I mean, the source. Like, for example, if you're for in our research, we'll be analyzing our materials in SEM or in different kind of analyzing techniques, and those are the kind of equipments which are very expensive, and those can be covered with your research funds which you already have in your project. So when it comes to the funding aspect, it is always good that we get into a project which is already funded. So, what do you think? I mean, like, how do you think that a PhD enthusiast can find a funding project either in UK or in a different countries? Do you have any sources where you would recommend them to go?
Yeah, so essentially, when you have a project proposal in mind and you approach a lecturer and say you have your professor's support, say they support your idea, or they feel they will be able to help you. Your lecturer or your professor is the one who will approach a funding body saying, I have this proposal in mind. Would you be able to fund my project? And I'll be funding a PhD student under me. So some of the funding bodies in UK who fund projects are the UKRI, that's UK Research and Innovation. Under them, there's EPSRC, that's
Yeah.
Engineering and Physical Sciences Research Council. And then there's other funding bodies in the UK called DFE, Department for Economy. So they are also other funding bodies who fund most of their PhD students. So essentially, it goes through the professor. They approach the funding body, and then your application may or may not be successful. So that's how it's done.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And also to add on, there's also in the Europe that's the Marie Curie, which is one of the I mean like the generous funding what you can get for the PhD. Because I know a few Marie Curie friends who are doing the PhD along with me. They're my colleagues, and in the future I'm thinking to do an interview with them as well for applying, particularly in Marie Curie. This kind of an opportunity, it should be known to all the people who are I mean like watching this video. The thing is, like in case of Marie Curie, what happens is like you get funding for not only just for your project, but also for your living expenses, your traveling cost, your like if you have a spouse, then you will be covered with the family expenses and everything. So it's a kind of a very generous funding which one can get. And as well as you have mentioned about the UKRI, since I am also a part of UKRI funding, and we don't have so much generous funding. We just have only the project funding as well as the stipends which we
Stipend,
get
yeah.
for the living expenses. However, this is still good. We come from a very humble background back in India. I mean, we are not a kind of a very rich shots where we have too much money so that we can just spend on it. I mean, like for the PhD and things. So this is also a question. When you are doing your masters or your bachelors back in India, this is always a question which a person do approach me all the time, that what did you think of PhD when you were in India, and did you think that you would get PhD back in abroad? Like, did you think that you would get funding for your PhD? So what kind of words or some kind of motivation things you would say for them, because it's a kind of a thing which we have to boost their confidence that yes, we come from a different, I mean like we are not from IITs or we are not from IASC or anything, but still we are in a very top universities in the world. So, and we are with fully funded projects. So what kind of motivational words do you say for them?
Yeah, so I think one of the first and foremost things that you have to keep in mind is you need to have relentless efforts to list the websites, go through each and every website, go through all the lecturers, see which lecturers' interests align with yours. Even if you email them, sometimes you may not get a response. Sometimes you might get a response saying they don't have a vacancy. So don't be disheartened with all of that. You really need to keep trying. I think I tried for 6 to 7 months before landing this PhD. I think even Manoj, it's the same for him as well.
Same.
Yeah, same. So it is possible to get a funding. It is difficult. It is competitive, but just keep trying. Don't lose hope at all. You will get it if you really look forward. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's it.
yeah, true. This actually, to be honest, yeah, you said it very right that when I was applying PhD as well, like I was contacting you all the time about, see, I've applied for this and this, and I have not got replied. I mean, like I also contacted few professors and I never got the reply. So and also I had some conversations with some previous, like when I was doing masters and I was having conversation with the PhD students, and they used to tell me that when you are applying for PhD, it's like you apply for a lot of positions, and
Yeah.
then maybe one might click in
Yeah.
in all those positions.
Yeah.
So it's a kind of a lot of efforts which you should have a patience, and you should not get demotivated because you got rejection somewhere.
Exactly.
Yeah, and when you're applying for PhD, once you get into these positions, you would be I mean when your application list is shortlisted, you would be undergoing with the interviews, and then
Yeah.
if in case in the interviews you might you not get selected. So that is one of the kind of a disheartening thing. However, we should keep our motivation. I mean, like in a still way that yes, we have to do this, and in some way we will find and we will do it. So yeah, I think that is kind of a perseverance which we have to keep in ourselves to pursue a PhD. I truly agree with you. And to continue with, like, how is your experience in 3 years of PhD? I mean, like you're in third year,
Yeah.
so I'm just joining the PhD. So this is a kind of a kind of a suggestions or some kind of
Yeah.
motivation which I should take from you, since you're doing PhD from 2 years and then you're getting into third year. So what keeps you motivated all the time to work and to, I mean, like to keep yourself active in doing this research? Because one cannot be always productive 100% all
Yeah.
the time. Yes, so it's a kind of a mixture which you have to get motivated by yourself, because you
Yeah.
cannot rely on different person all the
Yeah.
time. So what is that? What is the secret for that?
So I think the first thing that keeps me personally motivated is the fact that it's a very short, intensive course here, so you don't have a lot of flexibility to do it slowly over many years' time. You need to complete it within a certain time frame. That is one thing. And second thing, I think it's very important for all PhD students to go for a project that they really like, that they can relate to, or they would be interested to pursue that project for 3 to 4 years. It's not easy to do that for a project that you may not like, because sometimes when you do an experiment, you most of the times you don't get results in
The
the
result.
first go.
Yes.
So for
True,
you to
true.
again look back at what you've done, understand why, where you've gone wrong, understand why you're not getting the results, that takes a lot of efforts. And then again, second time, third time, fourth time, you need to keep trying, and that will only come when you really like your project, or when you're in a field that you really like and want to pursue. So just having that in mind, please, if you are interested to do it PhD, do it. Make sure you speak to your supervisors, have a good conversation with them. Having a good rapport with your supervisors is very important. Liking your project is also very important. And I think one biggest learning for me was that try to write out your introduction or write out your project as and when you go, because you might read, say, 50 papers. You might have all the information in your head, but when it comes down to writing your thesis, you might have to start from scratch if you haven't
Scratch.
written it from
True,
before.
true.
So maybe, say, once a month, try to write down what all you've read and what all you've done. Even if it's just 2 or 3 pages, it's more than enough. And then when you come to writing your thesis, you can get back to all of that, and you can just stitch all of those things together and go ahead with it. So that's my
Yeah, yeah.
suggestion.
True, true. This is one of the fantastic suggestion, because I would just take this as a note for me,
Yeah.
in my PhD. So I will start writing down like whatever
Yeah.
I do, so that this would help in our theses, like
Yeah.
drafting our thesis. We can take information from these
Yeah.
sources. So yeah, this kind of reduces our tensions or
Yeah.
reduces our pressure during the writing the thesis and things. And also the one point what everyone has to note is about the when they are applying for PhD, it is not like you apply for some project which is unknown to you,
Yeah.
and then you get into that project and then suffer later because you don't like the project. Because I do know a few people who have got into the projects since they have got fundings, and they have got some research fundings and everything, and their life is sought and it's in abroad and everything. But then later they suffer a lot because they don't know what to do in their project, and they're not motivated by that. This is one of the fantastic suggestion which everyone has to look into it when they're applying for PhD, or when they are selecting the project. So you should be very choosy, because it's not like you've got an opportunity, you have to take that opportunity. It's just not like that.
Yeah.
I know that this is like you have got that opportunity out of 50 opportunities, but still just check if you're aligned to that and you're motivated to do that.
Yeah.
This I think is one of the most important point as well. So I think we have covered a lot of topics, when to start, and then how you have to proceed with the PhD and everything. So I would like to ask, like, what is your future plan after PhD? Because there's a lot of people when, like, they question me asking, like, what would you do after PhD? Before they have starting PhD, they just ask the questions like, what is the future of your PhD? What are you gonna do about it? So it's a kind of a thing which you have to question them maybe in the later stages, because
Yeah.
I'm questioning you because
Yeah.
you're in the third year of your PhD.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll be completing in next one
Yeah.
year. So what is your future plans?
So it's so funny that you mentioned that, because at the start of my PhD, I was determined that I'm going to be in academics, I'm going to do a postdoc, I'm going to be a
Yeah.
lecturer. I was determined. All
Yeah.
of my friends, I had told them, oh no, I want to be in academics, but now I want to go
Yeah.
back to the industry. I really
Oh,
want to
yeah.
be on the application side of things. I want to really want to see the projects come to life, if that makes sense. I really
Oh,
want to be in that. And I feel like my skill sets that I've realized through the PhD is I love research, but I like the application aspect of it, and I want to see
very
it
true.
I want to see it come to life rather than being at the back end of it and doing the research. So I really want to be in the industry, and academia is great for people who want to do it. But it's just my interest and my skill sets are more aligned with going back to the industry with some research experience, but definitely staying in a more R&D field in the industry, so I can put my experience into projects. Yeah.
Into the project. Yeah, this is a kind of a true fact which we have to understand, because whenever we do research, it is not something that research what we have done should remain in the books or in some research
Yeah.
papers forever. It should come alive, and we should see our research. I mean, growing by someone
Yeah.
else, and also we are it's been implemented practically in the daily life. So that is one of the most important aspect of research, and that kind of implementation in the practical day-to-day life is a kind of a satisfaction which one can, I mean, like a researcher can get. So this is very true. And when you compare it back in India and the research which goes in UK, I think that a lot of research in India which we do finely and which we do I mean, like, with a lot of efforts we do, and we see a lot of research has not been put into kind of applications in industries, which is a sad fact. And I think the research institutes in India should take into consideration of all the research work what happens in the PhDs or in kind of academia, and we have to take that a lot of information from that and put into the industrial practice. So that's one of the good thing. Yeah, I think we have covered most of all the points, and then this was literally I mean, like, a fantastic conversation what I had with you. And thank you so much for I mean, agreeing to give this interview. And yeah, it was fantastic. So what do you feel about this? Like, what suggestions you want to give extra for my subscribers or the PhD enthusiasts who's watching this video?
Yeah, definitely. Just like Manoj said, just work hard, relentless efforts in your applications. And once you get a PhD position, I think this is something that I faced mainly was when I came here, I was a little afraid to ask for help.
Yeah,
And I was a little hesitant. I always kept thinking, oh, what will someone think of me if I ask this question? But don't be afraid to ask for help. Everyone is more than happy to help you, and we are
true,
all there for each other. So,
true.
when you go to conferences and when you meet new people, and if you see that they are doing something that might help you, please go ahead, talk to them, build
Contact
your
with them. Yeah,
network. And that is also very essential, because sometimes if you need any help, you can go and ask them, because they might have experience in something that you need. So that's also another suggestion. Don't be afraid to ask for help.
yeah, yeah, true. So yeah, thank you so much, Anushri, for joining
Yeah.
today. And for the subscribers, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope you have got a lot of information on how to apply for PhD and what are the PhD positions or the PhD in UK, as well as like applying for PhD in UK looks like, and what are all the documents and the things what you have to keep in your mind before applying for PhD. I hope you enjoyed, and if you have not subscribed to my YouTube channel, Travel Geek, do subscribe, and see you all